Welcome to English via AI. Imagine a man walking down a street. His hat is too small. His shoes are too big. His coat is too tight. He carries a little cane. He walks in a funny way. He says nothing, but the whole world laughs. Then, suddenly, the laughter becomes sadness. His face changes. His eyes become soft. In one small moment, he makes people laugh and cry. This man became one of the most famous performers in film history. This is the story of Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin was born on April 16, 1889, in London, England. His full name was Charles Spencer Chaplin. He was born into a poor family. His parents were music hall performers. Music halls were places where people sang, danced, and performed comedy. So, Charlie was close to the stage from the beginning. But his childhood was very hard. His father was mostly absent from his life. His mother, Hannah, struggled with poverty and illness. There was often not enough money. There was often not enough food. Charlie learned pain very early, but he also learned performance. Life was hard. The stage became a way to survive. Charlie's early years were full of struggle. At times, his family was sent to a workhouse. A workhouse was a place for very poor people who had nowhere else to go. It was a painful experience for a child. Charlie also spent time away from his mother. His mother's health became worse. She could not always care for him. This left deep marks on Charlie's heart. He knew hunger. He knew loneliness. He knew what it meant to feel small in a big, hard world. Later, these memories would appear in his films. He often played poor people. He showed their sadness, but he also showed their dignity. His comedy came from real pain. Charlie began performing when he was still a child. He learned to sing. He learned to dance. He learned how to make people laugh. He joined stage groups and performed in music halls. He had natural talent. He could move his body in funny ways. He could create emotion without many words. This was important. At that time, live performance was the main entertainment for many people. There was no television. Films were still new. A performer had to hold the audience with skill. Charlie learned this lesson early. Every movement mattered. Every look mattered. Every pause mattered. He was still young, but he was already building the tools of a great artist. Charlie joined a comedy company led by Fred Carno. This company performed funny stage shows. It became very important in Charlie's life. With the company, Charlie traveled to the United States. America was full of energy. The film industry was growing fast. Silent films were becoming popular. These films had no spoken dialogue. Actors had to tell stories with their faces and bodies. This was perfect for Charlie. He had trained for years on stage. He knew physical comedy. He knew how to make a crowd feel something without long speeches. In America, a new door opened. Charlie was about to enter the world of film, and film would change his life forever. In 1914, Charlie Chaplin began working in films. That same year, he created his most famous character. The character became known as the Tramp. The Tramp had a small hat. He had a little mustache. He wore a tight coat and baggy trousers. His shoes were too big. He carried a cane. He looked poor, but he walked with pride. This was the magic of the character. The Tramp was funny, but also human. He was poor, but not weak. He was often hungry, but still hopeful. He made mistakes. He got into trouble, but he kept going. People around the world understood him. They did not need English. They only needed to watch his face. Charlie Chaplin became famous very quickly. Silent films helped his fame travel around the world. Because there were a few spoken words, people in many countries could understand him. His comedy crossed language barriers. A person in England could laugh. A person in India could laugh. A person in America could laugh too. Charlie became one of the first global movie stars. He was not only an actor, he also wrote, directed, produced, and edited many of his films. He even composed music for some of them. This made him different. He wanted control over his art. He cared about every detail. A small movement could take hours to perfect. A simple joke could be planned with great care. His films looked easy, but behind them was deep work. Charlie Chaplin's comedy was never only silly. It had heart. He often showed poor people, lonely people, and forgotten people. He made audiences laugh at their problems. But he also made audiences feel their pain. This was his special gift. He could turn sadness into comedy. He could turn comedy into truth. Films like The Kid showed this clearly. The Kid was released in 1921. It mixed laughter with deep emotion. Charlie played the Tramp. He cared for a child with love and tenderness. Audiences laughed. Then they cried. Charlie understood something powerful. Comedy can open the heart. Then truth can enter. As Charlie's fame grew, he wanted more freedom. In 1919, he helped create United Artists with other major film figures. This gave him more control over his work. He did not want others to decide everything for him. He wanted to make films his own way. This was a bold move. At that time, studios had great power. But Charlie was already a giant star. He used his success to protect his creativity. He worked slowly and carefully. He did not rush. He wanted quality. This made his films special. They were not just products. They were personal works of art. Charlie Chaplin had become one of the most powerful artists in cinema. The world changed in the 1920s and 1930s. Sound came to films. Actors could now speak on screen. Many silent film stars struggled with this change. But Charlie did not quickly leave silent comedy behind. He believed the Tramp belonged to the silent world. In 1936, he released Modern Times. The film showed workers, machines, and the pressure of modern life. It was funny, but it also carried a serious message. Charlie showed people trapped by machines and work. He showed how progress could also create pain. Modern Times became one of his most famous films. It proved that silent-style comedy still had power. Charlie was not just making jokes. He was speaking about society. Even without many words, His message was clear. In 1940, Charlie Chaplin released The Great Dictator. This was one of his boldest films. The world was facing war. Adolf Hitler and fascism were spreading fear across Europe. Charlie used comedy to attack dictatorship. This was brave. It was also dangerous. In the film, Charlie played two roles. One was a cruel dictator. The other was a kind barber. At the end of the film, Charlie gave a powerful speech. It was a call for kindness, peace, and humanity. This was different from his silent comedy. Now he used his voice. He used it for a message. The Great Dictator showed that comedy could stand against hate. Charlie Chaplin was no longer only making people laugh. Some people accused him of having dangerous political ideas. His private life was also often discussed in the media. The pressure grew. In 1952, Charlie left the United States for a trip to Europe. While he was away, he was not allowed to easily return. This became a painful turning point. Charlie settled in Switzerland with his family. He lived there for the rest of his life. He continued to make films, but his greatest years in Hollywood were behind him. Still, the world did not forget him. Over time, people began to look again at his art. They saw his genius more clearly. The laughter had lasted. The character had survived. In 1972, Charlie Chaplin returned to the United States. He received an honorary Academy Award. The audience gave him a long-standing ovation. It was an emotional moment. After years of distance, Hollywood welcomed him again. People remembered what he had given to cinema. They remembered the tramp. They remembered the laughter. They remembered the heart. In 1975, he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II. He became Sir Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin died on December 25, 1977, in Switzerland. He was 88 years old. His life had been long and full. He had known poverty. He had known fame. He had known pain. And he had given the world joy. Charlie Chaplin's legacy is enormous. He helped shape cinema in its early years. He showed that film could be funny and emotional at the same time. He proved that a character without many words could speak to the whole world. The Tramp became one of the most famous characters in movie history. The hat, the cane, the walk, and the mustache are still recognized today. Many actors and comedians learned from him. His influence can still be seen in film and comedy. But his legacy is not only about laughter. It is also about compassion. He cared about poor people. He cared about workers. He cared about people who were pushed aside. He made them visible. That is why his work still matters. So what can we learn from the life of Charlie Chaplin? His story carries powerful lessons. The first lesson is about turning pain into art. Charlie's childhood was full of poverty and sadness. But he used that pain to create deep comedy. The second lesson is about detail. His comedy looked simple, but every movement was carefully planned. The third lesson is about courage. He used comedy to speak against cruelty and hate. The fourth lesson is about compassion. He never forgot the poor and lonely people of the world. The fifth lesson is about universal language. He showed that a smile, a tear, and a funny walk can cross borders. Charlie Chaplin's life reminds us of something simple but powerful. You do not always need many words to touch the world. Sometimes, one look can say everything. Vocabulary, meanings, and examples from the story. Performer. A person who acts, sings, dances, or entertains people. Example. His parents were music hall performers. Poverty. The state of having very little money. Example. His mother struggled with poverty and illness. Workhouse. A place where very poor people were sent in the past. Example. At times, his family was sent to a workhouse. Dignity. Calm pride and self-respect. Example. He showed their sadness, but he also showed their dignity. Comedy. Entertainment that makes people laugh. Example. His comedy came from real pain. Silent. Without spoken words. Example. Silent films were becoming popular. Character. A person in a story, film, or play. Example. The character became known as the Tramp. Barrier. Something that blocks or separates people. Example. His comedy crossed language barriers. Creativity. The ability to make new ideas or art. Example. He used his success to protect his creativity. Dictator. A ruler with total power. Example. Charlie used comedy to attack dictatorship. Compassion. Kindness and care for people who suffer. Example. His legacy is also about compassion. Legacy. What a person leaves behind and is remembered for. Example. Charlie Chaplin's legacy is enormous. Grammar tip. Articles a, n, and the. We use a before a general singular noun. Example 1. He carried a little cane. We use an before a vowel sound. Example 2. He became an actor. We use the when we talk about something specific or already known. Example 3. The Tramp became one of the most famous characters in movie history. A simple way to remember. Use a or n for something general and the for something specific. Charlie Chaplin began as a poor child in London. Through pain, talent, and hard work, he became one of the greatest artists in film history. He made people laugh without many words. He also made them feel sadness, kindness, and hope. His little tramp walked across the world, and the world never forgot him. So here is a question for you to think about. Can you turn your pain into something beautiful? If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, share it with a friend who needs to hear it, and comment below with one lesson you will carry with you. Subscribe to English via AI for more real stories that help you learn English. One journey at a time. Keep learning, keep building.